commit perjury by altering documentation and nothing ever happened to him, it's unlikely that it's anything more than miscommunication. But what happened on the plea agreement is Hunter Biden went in there to plead. Normally, it's a very routine situation. The prosecutor announces the plea deal, announces the charges, announces what the plea deal is. The defendant agrees to the plea deal, and then the judge pronounces the sentence that was agreed. It's essentially a contract. Now, sometimes the judge will ask questions. Now, in this situation, the judge did ask questions, especially regarding two areas. On the gun charge, remember, Hunter Biden isn't even officially charged on the gun charge yet. And he's supposed to get a diversion, what's called a diversion program. These have become very popular in recent years. And the idea is that you help people avoid having a permanent mark on their record that could interfere with their employment and their ability to get on with their lives. And the way they do that is they enter into some sort of what we would call probation, a community supervision program. And if they behave properly, if they get counseling, or if they do whatever they're supposed to do with the probation, then the charge just goes away. And in fact, they never officially get charged because they never get indicted, or the prosecutor never files a complaint or what's called an information against them. But this gun charge is a serious charge. It's a felony charge, Joe. It carries a sentence of up to 10 years in prison, and this is the one that's gotten the most attention, especially as you and I have spoken before. One criminal defense lawyer came out and said he had never in about 25 years seen somebody get off so leniently on such a charge, and he had represented a rapper who had gone to prison for that same kind of charge. So the judge asked about this and asked about the constitutionality of it, because if Hunter Biden breached the diversionary agreement, then the judge would be asked to make some sort of finding in court, basically what we call a finding of fact, so that the government could then go ahead and prosecute him. And that is a major concern, because that would be unusual. And the judge asked if the Department of Justice had any history of doing this kind of plea agreement on the firearm charge, and the prosecutor apparently said no.
Wow.
So that tells you right there, if that's true, if that's an accurate report in the media, that tells you right there that Hunter Biden was getting a special deal just on the gun charge alone. The other question that really brought the proceedings to a halt was the judge asked about future prosecutions, whether or not Hunter Biden was going to be subject to future prosecution, whether this was going to close everything. Now, the defense said, well, yes, he's going to walk out of here, and they want their client not to have to worry about anything in the future. And then the prosecutor said, well, no. The judge especially asked about FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act. It used to be that nobody got prosecuted under that. Several years ago, the Department of Justice started prosecuting people. Basically, if you represent a foreign government, you have to register. You have to register with the federal government and let people know you're working for somebody overseas. And Hunter Biden has never been charged with that. It's clear that he was acting for foreign entities and foreign governments. We know he's made millions doing this, and yet he has never registered and he's never been charged. So the judge asked about that. The defense said, well, yes, our client is free and clear, and the prosecution said no. Now, the interesting thing, especially from our point of view in terms of wanting news and the American people who might want news about this, is the House of Representatives has been holding these committee hearings, and they've been getting information. And every time they try to get information from the FBI and the Department of Justice, what are they told? We can't give you that information because this is an open investigation. So it looks like the Department of Justice wants to say, our case against Hunter Biden is still open, so we can't give you that information, whether or not they really intend to prosecute him in the future.
Wow.
Or whether they just want to claim that it's open so they withhold information. Well, once the defense lawyers heard the prosecutor say, no, we might prosecute him, of course they said the deal is off. And so they actually took a break. It went on for 3 hours. They took a break. The judge gave them a chance to try to talk it out. They could not get it done. And in the end, Joe, the judges said, and this is important, all the reports of the plea agreement has fallen apart. It's not officially over. The judge has ordered additional briefing. So it's still possible the plea agreement could go forward. I suspect, at least I wouldn't be surprised if they make some sort of modifications, maybe serious, but maybe not. But I would be surprised if they make some sort of modifications and still end up with a plea agreement sometime in the reasonably near future.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Brent Haynes, grateful for your time today and giving us the inside scoop here. Boy, the shenanigans afoot, which is also on the cup, by the way, which is linked up in the show notes and also on the YouTube stream if you wanted the ACT Insiders mug. It's right there. Brent Haynes, God bless you. God love you. Have a great day, sir. We'll see you next week. Coming up after the break, we're going to have Andreas Wailzer on from LifeSite News. We're going to talk about that UN report. It's not good. It's not good. All of that plus more breaking news and stories is coming your way, and it's coming up next. We'll be right back.
And now I present to you Lepanto, a poem by G.K. Chesterton. White founts falling in the courts of the sun, and the Soldan of Byzantium is smiling as they run. There is laughter like the fountains in the face of all men feared. It stirs the forest darkness, the darkness of his beard. It curls the blood-red crescent, the crescent of his lips. For the inmost sea of all the earth is shaken with his ships. They have dared the white republics up the capes of Italy. They have dashed the Adriatic round the lion of the sea. And the Pope has cast his arms abroad for agony and loss, and called the kings of Christendom for swords about the cross. The cold Queen of England is looking in the glass. The shadow of the Valois is yawning at the mass. From evening isles fantastical rings faint the Spanish gun, and the Lord upon the golden horn is laughing in the sun. Dim drums throbbing in the hills half heard, where only a nameless throne, a crownless prince has stirred, where, risen from a doubtful seat, a half-attainted stall, the last knight of Europe takes weapons from the wall. The last and lingering troubadour to whom the bird has sung, that once went singing southward when all the world was young. In that enormous silence, tiny and unafraid, comes up along a winding road the noise of a crusade. Strong gongs groaning as the guns boom far. Don Juan of Austria is going to the war. Stiff flags straining in the night blast cold, in the gloom black purple, in the glint old gold, torchlight crimson on the copper kettle drums, then the tuckets, then the trumpets, then the
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain, and here are your headline news. The Blaze reports massive crane collapses into buildings in Manhattan, dropping 16-ton load of concrete, injuring at least 5. A crane collapsed in the Hell's Kitchen district of Manhattan, and it was caught on video smashing into multiple buildings, causing unknown amounts of damage. 5 people were injured, including a firefighter. The top portion of the construction crane was filmed collapsing and hitting a building across the street before switching back to another building that was currently under construction. Pedestrians are recorded running from the scene. 3 people were taken to the hospital with minor injuries. The initial reports from the fire department, the deputy commissioner Joseph Pfeiffer said that the fire broke out inside the engine of the crane, about 45 stories high. CNA reports Pope Francis names Davenport, Iowa's Bishop Zinkula to lead the Archdiocese of Dubuque. Bishop Thomas Zinkula, 66 years old, has led the Davenport Diocese in southeast Iowa since 2017. In 2021, Zinkula established a diocesan gender committee to study the phenomenon of transgenderism. The group and its activities have been criticized for not being sufficiently grounded in Catholic teaching. Davenport's diocesan newspaper has also been criticized for its associated series, Pastoral Approach to Gender. The series included a feature story on a Florida deacon's son who identified as a woman. The piece described the young man as a daughter of the deacon, and they used feminine pronouns throughout the piece and closed with a quote from the deacon himself saying, quote, "There's more to human beings and human sexuality than is incorporated into that Christian anthropology that we believe in. It isn't just male and female, he created them." Close quote. Makes you wonder who formed that deacon in his theology. At any rate, regarding the synod on synodality, Zinkula told Davenport's Diocesan newspaper that while some people are expecting big doctrinal changes, we don't want to lead them on. This is not what the synodal process is about. Yikes. The Post-Millennial reports Biden admin forces family of soldier killed in Afghanistan withdrawal to pay $60,000 to transport her body to the Arlington National Cemetery. The family of the female Marine who was killed during the disastrous withdrawal of Afghanistan in 2021 was forced to pay $60,000 to have her body flown from California to Arlington to be buried. Nicole G., 23 years old, was one of 13 service members who were killed during a suicide blast at the Kabul airport in 21. There were also 170 Afghans reportedly killed in the attack that ISIS took responsibility for. Her body was initially transported to her hometown in Roseville, California for a ceremony, but her family was then told that they were financially responsible for moving her body to Arlington, which would be her final resting place. Corey Mills, a Republican lawmaker and Army veteran, noted that the Defense Department was allowed to decline to pay for the transportation of G's body due to last year's change to the National Defense Authorization Act. And those are your headline news. Hey, good morning to our iCatholic Radio team. Praise be to God. Glad you guys are here. Thank you for downloading and listening to the iCatholic Radio mobile app, and we appreciate it. You can find more details on our website at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. But joining us right now is Andreas Wailzer from LifeSite News. The UN has a new report out. Andreas, welcome, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me back on, Joe.
The UN, I don't know. I haven't trusted the UN in probably, forever. But nonetheless, they every year come out with a population report. It seems to me that they are very much interested in population. They think there's too many people on planet Earth, and they want less of them, it seems. But this time, according to your report, they're doubling, tripling up. They're just going to include gender ideology, homosexual ideology. They're going to include abortion, contraception, probably IVF. What's going on here?
Well, the UN has declared July 11th the World Population Day. And in that, to celebrate that, they released a very long report, over 190 pages. And, to address quote unquote population issues. And they don't directly say that the world is overpopulated and that we need to reduce the population, but all the measures that they prescribe would either reduce or at least make the population stagnate. And so the first thing that they want is the big theme of the report is gender equality. And it very quickly becomes clear that what they mean by that is quote unquote reproductive health, which basically means abortion, as many people know. And they also argue that even countries that have very low fertility rates below replacement level, like Western nations, should not try to raise fertility levels. So you can see that everything they do and say would lead to the population further declining in Western countries. And so that's the theme of the report, sort of.
Do we know who at the United Nations puts this report together? Are there do they vote on this report? Do nations come together and say, I like this is good, and I'm in favor of publishing it? I mean, who does this?
Well, so this is published by the United Nations Population Fund that was founded back in 1969, shortly after the release of the famous book, The Population Bomb, by Paul Ehrlich, who advocated for population control, probably the most famous book about population control of the 20th century. And it's hard to tell. Like, they do have authors. These are mostly UN bureaucrats, so these reports are not really voted on. These are sort of run by the leftists. There's some groups and countries at the UN that try to lobby against these kind of things, but they are thoroughly infiltrated by globalists and leftists that push this agenda. It's hard to tell who's actually behind all of these things because they don't name them, right? They are promoted by the UN, but and by these organizations, but they're usually not named the specific people who are really behind these reports.
You know, off the top of my head, you quoted in aging, low fertility countries with labor productivity concerns, achieving gender parity in the workforce. I mean, what's the language there? Like, who writes that stuff? That is gobbledygook to start with. But second of all, I think of aging countries like Italy, for instance, or France, where reproductive rates are very low among their native populations, but they're being inundated with immigrants and basically being replaced at that point. I think countries like Hungary have figured this out, that they better incentivize having more children and fast, or they're going to be in real trouble. France already seems like it's on the brink, as well as Italy. But you live in Europe. I mean, is that not the case?
No, that's definitely the case. And the UN admits that much. And you mentioned the language that they use, and you're right, they are exceptionally good at propaganda. And you really have to read between the lines and have a lot of background knowledge to know what they're even talking about, and to see through that. Because on its face, most of the things that they write, they sound pretty good. They're like, yeah, we want to improve living quality for everyone, and it's all sounds great, equality and so on. So that sounds amazing on first glance, but it really isn't. And like you said, in Europe, basically all native populations are declining. They have birth rates below 2.1, which is considered the replacement level. And like you said, the solution to that for many they're proposing the solution of mass migration. And at the same time, they're claiming that it's a conspiracy theory to say that migrants are slowly replacing the native populations. So it's really absurd. And so this is definitely a big problem. And like you said, Hungary is one of the few countries who try to sort of raise the fertility level, and they managed to, not high enough still, but at least a little bit, they managed to have people have more kids. But yeah, this is a big problem, and it's a long-term problem, and we will not solve this overnight. Even if the fertility rate were to increase by 1 or 2 kids per family tomorrow, it would still take like 20-25 years until these people enter the workplace. And that's why the UN is actually saying, oh no, don't have more kids, because in the next 30 years we think it's gonna have next to no impact economically. And that's somewhat correct, I think, but they're ignoring the fact that, okay, at some point we have to raise the fertility rate, even if it's a long-term goal, right? And it's only going to affect us in 30 years. But if we never do it, then we'll just always have this problem. So they are kind of using this kind of very selective arguments to to argue their point of, oh no, there's no point in raising fertility levels, and you just have migration but also mass migration replacing the native population is a conspiracy theory at the same time. So it really is very convoluted, and if you see through it, it is really full of propaganda, and it doesn't really make sense.
China. I think of China, Japan, so many countries. They're not going to have, who's going to take care of them as they age? Who's going to take care of them and be their caregivers when they get to the point where they need someone to care for them in their last days and years on Earth? They're not going to have children to do that. In fact, I mean, even if they did, maybe it's not going to matter, because they have broken the family into such dust anymore, so many broken pieces anymore, that families are dysfunctional, and they don't want to help each other anyway. They don't want to hang out. They don't want to talk. They don't want to do anything. I mean, that's the reality of our world today. So this seems very dystopian. And as I said a second ago, I think we're seeing the imminent collapse of cultures like the French culture, for instance, being totally replaced by immigrants from Africa or the Middle East. So, all right, are these countries, is France, Italy, your own country of Austria, do they listen to reports like this? Or is this, as you said, just propaganda, and it just sort of goes and nobody pays attention to it?
Well, I'm not sure. Like these UN reports are usually not publicly discussed. And only people like me, journalists covering this, read that. I mean, usually
well, that's good news.
Yeah, people don't concern themselves with these reports. But if the politicians read these reports or not, I don't know. But I know that they're definitely pushing the same agenda. So most of the political parties are pushing the same agenda. These anti-family sort of culture that we live in, that is telling us not to have too many kids, with the climate crisis, the so-called, and everything, we need to have less kids as to not to pollute the world. And also we need more immigration. So they're very much pushing these same ideas. But I think really the sort of many of the thinking heads of this ideology are sitting at the UN and writing these reports sort of as a blueprint. Whether they read it or not, they're certainly pushing this agenda. Most politicians are, with a few exceptions. Yeah.
One of the things that gets me about this whole conversation is when people push for, like, the world is overpopulated and we need population control, the Bill Gates of the world, people like that, it's not them that they want to get rid of. They feel like they deserve to be here. It's everybody else that has to be, considered one case at a time. It's the peasants like myself who aren't given an opportunity to live on planet Earth when the rich folks definitely deserve to be here. And it just seems so bizarre to me. Like, I don't understand how anybody could think that that's okay. Like, it seems so weird to even consider that you would want other people to give up their life just so that you could have a more comfortable existence with less people to bother you on the highways or at the grocery store or whatever. I mean, I just can't seem to wrap my head around those that would consider population control. We're right at a break, though. Andreas Wailzer is our guest. His article is entitled UN's World Population Day Report Urges Women in Aging Countries Not to Have More Children. We're going to put a link to this article and a couple of others on our show notes at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. You can find his article at lifesitenews.com, but we'll link to it as well. Coming up after the break, there's a couple of other stories I want to talk to Andreas about. There's one about JP Morgan Chase, a bank that I personally fired a couple of years ago, praise be to God. And then there's the German bishops, the never-ending story of German bishops. As the synod approaches, things are getting interesting. Are they going to change doctrine? Will they? Will they not? I don't know. We're going to get Andreas's take on that coming up after this very quick break. Do us a favor, share us with a friend. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
And now I present to you Lepanto, a poem by G.K. Chesterton. White founts falling in the courts of the sun, and the Soldan of Byzantium is smiling as they run. There is laughter like the fountains in the face of all men feared. It stirs the forest darkness, the darkness of his beard. It curls the blood-red crescent, the crescent of his lips. For the inmost sea of all the earth is shaken with his ships. They have dared the white republics up the capes of Italy. They have dashed the Adriatic round the lion of the sea. And the Pope has cast his arms abroad for agony and loss, and called the kings of Christendom for swords about the cross. The cold Queen of England is looking in the glass. The shadow of the Valois is yawning at the Mass. From evening isles fantastical rings faint the Spanish gun, and the Lord upon the golden horn is laughing in the sun. Dim drums throbbing in the hills half heard, where only a nameless throne, a crownless prince has stirred, where, risen from a doubtful seat, a half-attainted stall, the last knight of Europe takes weapons from the wall. The last and lingering troubadour to whom the bird has sung, that once went singing southward when all the world was young. In that enormous silence, tiny and unafraid, comes up along a winding road the noise of a crusade. Strong gongs groaning as the guns boom far. Don Juan of Austria is going to the war. Stiff flags straining in the night blast cold, in the gloom black purple, in the glint old gold, torchlight crimson on the copper kettle drums, then the tuckets, then the...
Praise Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain. It is great to be on with you. We're having a conversation with Andreas Wailzer from LifeSiteNews.com. He's got great articles over there. We're linking to them in our show notes at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. There was another story I saw over there at LifeSiteNews.com. Andreas says JP Morgan Chase debanks Mr. Mercola's business, including employees and their family members. Now, I fired Chase a couple of years ago because of shenanigans like this. What's the story here, Andreas Wailzer?
Yeah, Dr. Joseph Mercola, who is a very outspoken opponent of the whole COVID narrative and the COVID shots and a lot of other things as well, the climate crisis and the whole globalist agenda. We reprint a lot of his articles at LifeSite News because they're very good. And now we got the news that his business was debanked by JP Morgan Chase. And not only his business, but the personal accounts of his employees, of his CFO and CEO, and of their relative. So from the CEO, it was his wife that was debanked, and he was told that his children will not be allowed to have bank accounts at Chase Bank. And with the CFO, her husband was debanked as well, or her account that she shares with her husband, and her sons as well. And so this is really insane. I mean, these are communist tactics. Like, your whole family is getting punished for political views that your relative has. In this case, not even these people themselves, but the boss of your company has these political views mainly.
What did he do to deserve this?
Well, he has the wrong opinions. Mainly, he is very, like I said, he's very outspoken against the COVID narrative. He's a doctor. He does a lot of specialized in natural medicine and so on, and that's a thorn in the side of very many people, including the pharmaceutical industry, including many politicians who pushed this whole COVID narrative and the whole sort of globalist agenda that involves so many things, including climate change and all that kind of stuff that he is very vocally against. And he publishes articles that are read by, I'm sure, thousands and thousands of people. And so he's an influential dissident to the globalist agenda, I would say. And that's what's probably behind this. And the CEO, he sent me an email, and he said that he also thinks that it's politically motivated, this strike. I mean, it's very odd, right? I mean, suddenly all the CEO, the CFO, and the family members get their accounts canceled. That seems a very targeted attack.
You were reported on BlackRock. We talked about that a couple of times here on the program. This push from organizations like BlackRock, others, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and many others to push these ESGs, to push this sort of social justice program that is very left of center, very liberal. And if you don't go along to get along, boy, you're going to be in trouble. And then I think you couple that with the push for the national digital currencies around the world. There are governments right now that are putting them out. That makes a future very, very difficult for those that would hold a contrary opinion. Even the WEF has been talking about this more recently with some of their videos that they put out, talking about wanting to have even implants in a hand that carry your banking information. So you just wave a hand and then everything gets dealt with. But it seems like in that future, one click from the overlords and you are cut off from society. Isn't that what China has right now? JP Morgan Chase is fully behind that, aren't they?
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. The problem is it's very clear that all the big corporations, all the big banks seem to be behind it. I don't know, because if one of them was ever to go against it, they would be immediately attacked by everyone else. And BlackRock, they hold stock in all these companies, so they control a lot, and the globalist politicians as well. So it's sort of like you have to It's the same with ESG and all these things. You sort of, if you're a multinational corporation, you sort of have to go along with this, or else you're gonna get relentlessly attacked. So yeah, I definitely think that they're on board, and not everyone who works there, obviously. I mean, some employees were reportedly shocked that this happened, and they were confused themselves, but definitely the higher ups, they have to go along with it, or they're certainly on board with this agenda, or at least have to go along with it to get along.
You switch now or forever hold your peace, because the clock is ticking. Let's talk about switching here to another story. Your article, pro-LGBT head of German Bishops Conference, says he wants to found the church differently. That's a kind of a scary statement. He wants to found the church differently. Last time I checked, it was Jesus Christ who founded his church upon the rock, not the other way around. What are they saying here, Andreas?
Well, Bishop Betzing, the head of the German Bishops Conference, has made similar statements in the past. He has also said that the reforms should not stop at church teaching, the synodal way reforms. And now he's saying he wants basically to found a different church, or make it so it is different. It's not, like you said, it's not the church that Jesus Christ founded anymore, or not recognizable as such. Now, if he is asked, and he was asked several times, if he wants a schism, he would always say, no, we don't want a schism, of course. But everything he says and does, points toward a de facto schism. So that's what's happening right now. He's notorious for his open opposition to church teaching. And he does the sort of insinuating of founding a new church in his sermons and in his interviews every now and then. And I think it's a very obvious agenda, and the German bishops are probably among the most radical modernists today, and probably in the history of the church.
Recently, I just had a conversation the other day with Luke Copen from the Pillar Catholic, and about Fernandez, soon to be Cardinal Fernandez, head of the doctrine office. He basically said, I have to get caught up. I have to figure out what these Germans are asking for. I guess I wasn't really aware, which I didn't personally buy. But he seemed to suggest that he should listen to them, hear them out, and find some middle ground with them. And then Bishop Robert Barron came out, and he said, we're not changing doctrine. Nobody's discussing changing doctrine. Nobody wants to change doctrine. We just want to reach people. But it seems like the contrary is the case. The Germans and others are definitely pushing to have doctrine changed. And I want to get your take on that with about a minute left to go here. Do you think they're trying to change doctrine, or do you think that what they really want at the Synod is to just ignore doctrine altogether? I don't care what you change in the books, just we're going to ignore it and do whatever we want anyway.
So I definitely think that there's the modernists in the church. Many of them do want to change doctrine. And if they can't, if they somehow are unable to, they want to at least change the practice. So, and they've said that as well, the German bishops, that they said, well, yeah, maybe Rome doesn't, allow this, but we'll change the practice anyway. We'll do same-sex blessings. We'll do maybe even marriages, and we'll have all these kinds of things. And these pro-LGBT, education guidelines that they put out and everything. So yes, their goal is definitely to change the practice, and if they can, they would definitely change the doctrine, I think.
Oof. Andreas Wailzer, I'm very grateful for your time. LifeSiteNews.com is the place to go. We're going to put links to all the articles that we covered today with Andreas in our show notes at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. That's thestationofthecross.com/ACT. Andreas, God bless you. God love you. We really appreciate your insight into these stories, keeping us up to date, reporting on things that almost no one else reports on. So we love that. Andreas, I'm looking forward to maybe even meeting you in Rome in October. That'd be amazing. All right, again, LifeSiteNews.com, but check out the show notes. If you want to comment live in the after show, which we're going to go to here next, you can do that on our website. Go to thestationofthecross.com/ACT. You'll see the live video player and the links to everywhere else just underneath that. God bless you. God love you. And we'll see you here tomorrow.
And now I present to you Lepanto, A poem by G.K. Chesterton. White founts falling in the courts of the sun, and the Soldan of Byzantium is smiling as they run. There is laughter like the fountains in the face of all men feared. It stirs the forest darkness, the darkness of his beard. It curls the blood-red crescent, the crescent of his lips. For the inmost sea of all the earth is shaken with his ships. They have dared the white republics up the capes of Italy. They have dashed the Adriatic round the lion of the sea. And the Pope has cast his arms abroad for agony and loss, and called the kings of Christendom round the lion of the sea. And the Pope has cast his arms abroad for agony and loss, and called the kings of Christendom round the lion of the sea.
I just saw that.
And the Pope has cast his arms.
So YouTube shut down about like 20 minutes into the show.
Oh,
so I turned it off
time.
and restarted it so we could, and it's happened once or twice. I don't know why YouTube does that.
Why does YouTube do anything?
It happens once or twice, So okay, fine. Stopped it, restarted it. It didn't come up again. So I was like, okay, that's weird. So I stopped it for a little bit longer and then restarted. And now we have 2 streams.
Now we have 2 streams.
Now we have 2 YouTube streams.
You know,
so sorry, Sharon. Sorry that you were left all alone, Sharon. But you were on the less populated stream.
If you can have 2 streams, I say do it. Okay, I mean, go for it.
Yeah,
Go for it.
Twice the streams, twice the fun.
Seems reasonable. Seems totally reasonable. Now, what I'm trying to do is, so this is my first chance at actually going to see any comments from anyone, because Station of the Cross. I can't think and type it. I can't think, type, speak, and switch video all at the same time, as I've clearly demonstrated today. It's just these things I cannot do. What a challenge. Patriot Man USA is on Rumble. Good morning to you, Patriot Man USA. What a challenge. Looking good, brother. Glad you're on the team. Sci-Fi Mike. It's very lonely on YouTube. No, Sharon said it's very lonely. That's Sharon who wrote that on the Rumble. That's hilarious. Sharon's also on our Telegram group. Good morning to you. Praise be to God. Damon's over there. Jack Burton posting those Jack Burton memes. Gotta love it. Liz F., good morning to you. Yvonne, good morning to you. Mike K., population reduction will result in every city becoming Detroit. That is what they want. By the way, I'm coming to Detroit in a couple of, about 3-4 weeks now. I'll be in Detroit for a couple of days, or like one night. Paul, good morning to you. Liz, good morning to you. Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. Welcome to the team. By the way, there are some who are speculating. Can we get I need a tinfoil hat. I am going to have my kids make me a tinfoil hat. There are certain times where tinfoil hats are absolutely necessary to focus the thought processes. There's a couple of things I would like to say with my tinfoil hat. There are some who are saying because of Agenda 2030 that plebes like myself, maybe yourself, maybe, I don't know, maybe you're a rich person, I don't know. But not me. People like us aren't going to be able to travel internationally come 2030. They're going to be cutting that all off because they need to reduce those emissions, so less planes, less travel, less people. Only the rich can afford it at that point. Of course, in their private jets. I mean, that's unreasonable to want them to have to, like, be on a plane with everybody else. Like, you don't want them breathing the same air as us. That would be, no way. Mm-mm.
Unclean.
So I feel bad for them that they have to be in our presence, and maybe more of us will die just to solve them, help their problems anyway. So good morning to everybody on the Instagram, Telegram, or Telegram is where it was. Telegram. By the way, we hope to be back to live video tomorrow. Sci-Fi Mike is in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning. Praise be to God. Yvonne is over on the YouTubes, on the proper YouTubes. And now that we've sorted that out. Rhaegar82, seen the Georgia Guidestones. Oh, the ones that fell, the ones that got, someone went over there and put the smackdown on them. Paul is here. Good morning to you. Kilroy Jones. That's right. Kilroy Jones, good morning to you. Yvonne. Boy, lots of, got to go backwards.
KPJack06 is over on the other stream, the smaller viewer stream.
Okay.
He
I'm
says
going over there. I don't know which one is which is my problem.
He's got an interesting question there.
All right, hold on. I'm working my way over there. Where's my? I do need my tinfoil hat though.
It's like the two apostles James. There's stream the greater with more viewers, and stream the lesser with stream the greater and stream the lesser with fewer viewers.
Stream the greater, stream the lesser. I like that. That's good stuff. Pliny the Younger. Have you guys ever read Pliny the Younger? You should read Pliny the Younger. Pliny the Younger, where it talks about he writes home to Rome and says, "Okay, I arrested these Christians just like you asked. I tortured them a little bit, but what do you want me to do with them?" The response is, "Well, if they will recant, offer the incense, let them go. If not, execute them." KP Jack 06, good morning to you. Says, Joe, have you seen the 10 philosophical views of the UN? No, I have not. Maybe we ought to. Should we do that? Can you put a link for me, KP Jack 06? Or I guess I can Google it. I need to get what's his name to come back. His name is escaping me.
Pliny the Younger?
No. Oh, man. Why can't I can see his face? I see his face in my mind right now, but I can't recall his name. I'm not finding exactly what you're talking about. KP Jack 06, please put a link and I shall review. No. I'm going to go find this guy because it bugs me to no end that I have a loose end in my brain that is now not working out for me. Okay, it is Austin Ruse. Thank you, my guardian angel, Austin Ruse. We should get Austin Ruse back. Maybe we get Austin Ruse to talk about the 10 philosophical, general rules of the UN. They are to be done away with, in my opinion. What do you guys think about that? What did anybody see the whistleblowers on the UAP program yesterday on Capitol? Did anybody? Anyone? Can I ask a question? What is the point to being a whistleblower if you actually reveal nothing new to the public? Can someone explain? Listen, I'm just a knuckle dragger, okay? I'm an idiot with a microphone. What do I know? I've never even been to law school, for crying out loud. So what is the point if you have whistleblowers that come out to say the government is really involved for decades now with UFOs and secret technologies? Do I believe they're involved in secret technologies? Yes, 100% I believe they're involved in secret technologies. Do I believe they have extraterrestrial alien life? No, I do not. I do not believe that. I believe they would be demons that would be manipulating evil people for nefarious reasons for the fall of mankind. I do not believe that there are alien species out there. Could I be wrong about that? Well, of course, I'm a knuckle dragger. But I don't believe that. No, I'm sorry. They're demons. They're not aliens. I do believe, however, the government and governments around the world, evil, nefarious people who would be involved in, say, the human sex slave trade, the drug trade, the manipulation of people as though they are chattel, people to be used and consumed for the gratification and pleasure of the rich and elite. Yeah, I believe those folks are definitely involved in nefarious technologies that help benefit their back pocket, their power and control over the rest of us. I 100% believe that. But do I believe in alien? No, of course not. They're demons, not angels. Or the fallen angels, demons, not aliens. However, I go back to my point. What in the world is the point to being a whistleblower if you don't actually reveal anything to the public? Yes, I'm sorry, I can't actually say that in public. Oh, yeah. Oh, good question. Excellent question. I can't actually reveal anything to you here in public. Maybe, just maybe, if we get into a skiff, I have put it into a document that can never, ever, ever, ever be seen by the public. What are we doing here? What is the point of this? What is the point to this? I don't understand. If what you are saying is the government and government agencies, people, personnel are actively involved in a cover-up of some kind, manipulation of taxpayer interest, why the heck can't the person who pays the bill not be given the information? National security. What? For whose security? For ours? Or for China? For ours? Or for the world elite? For ours? Or for the political power that gets to pull the strings? I don't understand. It boggles my mind. Boggles my bloody mind. David L. Gray weighs in this morning. David L., all the way from Deutschland. Guten Tag. How are you, my friend? Good to see you. By the way, I got your email, and of course, I'd love to participate. I'm very honored that you'd even ask. That's amazing. Demons don't need to constantly fly over nuclear sites. No, they do not, but China does. I'm just saying. China does. Karen Andy Bashaw. It's yet another distraction. But no, seriously though, why have whistleblowers who don't reveal anything at all that we didn't already know? Zero. I listened to this guy. Zero information new on the table. None. Nada. Zero. Zilch. Didn't even answer any of their questions, really. Absolutely ridiculous to me. Yvonne says, I still believe in them, and I'll believe in them when I see them. That's well put. I think that America just don't want to admit that we're behind in the sciences and technology. I think America doesn't want to admit that we aren't in charge of things. That there is a group of folks that are in charge, and we ain't them. Huh. Kilroy Jones says, giant Nephilim are coming. Giant Nephilim. David says this is his favorite show. You heard it here first, folks. David L. Gray has admitted in public under oath this is his favorite show. Can we cut that? Can we make? I'm gonna run that across the network and all of our social media. Oh, by the way, we're also linking to the petition for 1 million names against abortion. Tell the Supreme Court to stop killing babies. National Personhood. It's a LifeSite News petition that we are partnering with LifeSite on. We're going to be linking to that in the show notes. Please make sure to sign that petition. Send the Supreme Court, send our country, send those that are in power notice that we want personhood for every human being, not your alien friends that you've apparently recovered from the 1930s. Dear whistleblower dude, not them. Because if they had a rational soul, they would need Jesus Christ to save them. Sorry. Salvation is for all of creation, and there ain't no aliens. It ain't gonna happen. Yvonne says, as David L. Gray says, that's all I know about that. That's good. Did you steal that from Forrest Gump, David L.? That seems like a Forrest Gump statement. Sharon says, this show makes me a better Catholic, or at least they try to be better. Yeah, praise be to God for that. I agree. Thanks for that. Thanks for being on the team. Let's see here. Over on the Facebooks, by the way, Patty is here. The CFAM is so important. Austin Ruse, 100% agree. A different way to create a super race. Yikes. That's kind of concerning. Susan Weber, good morning to you. Says, I think the elites are just running out of distractions and they think we're all stupid. Yes, they do. They actually believe that we are, in fact, a bunch of stupid people. Stupid. Going backwards here. Junior Barra, good morning to you. Don Paddock, good morning to you. Patty says, I wish I could hear the endings of the poems you and Mary. Oh, that's awfully nice. I think Jack, producer... did I say Jack? Was that a Freudian slip? Producer Jake. Producer Jake actually posted.
No, you're blowing my secret Telegram identity.
That's right. Producer Jake has posted them in the links there. So the link to yesterday's poem that my daughter did from Saint Therese of Lisieux on the Sacred Heart, and the poem that I did on G.K. Chesterton and Lepanto, which, by the way, Jake and I we're planning to reproduce this year in honor of so we got to do that pretty soon, actually.
Yeah, we should. Oh, October's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up. We want to add like the sound of seagulls, the crashing waves over the bow, sound of cannon fire, the sound of men fighting, ching 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 in the background.
Ropes creaking in the
Ropes
mast.
creaking. Yes. We need some. Can we? As much as I am against the use of AI, should we get AI generated imagery of Don Juan standing on the deck with his
There's
sword
already
drawn?
a nice painting of that. There's already a cool painting of that.
You're right. You're right. We should get AI to do a version of the painting of that.
Yeah. We should commission good Catholic artists to make new versions of it. Just
We
for ours,
should.
exclusive.
Yes. Bridget Dunn says the Pope said he will baptize an alien. Yikes. It scares me. David L. Gray, would you baptize an alien? I'm just curious. Where do you stand on that hotly contested issue? I would love to know. We should talk about that. David L. I want to get you back on the show, man. Am I ever going to get you back on the show? Now that you moved to Germany, you've become part of the elite. You've become part of the 1%ers, globe trotting, and you're just like, no longer take my calls, David L. Gray. I'm only teasing. David L. Gray is fantastic. That's how AI gets you, Joe. Liz is like, it's a slippery slope. All that juicy AI imagery that you want. Then that's how they wheel you in. Then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you got the implant in your hand, or is it in your brain? I forget. The WF actually put out a video I posted in Telegram. They're wanting implants in the hand, and they're going for it. And countries are buying into it. It's happening. It's not just tinfoil hat stuff. Laura is on the team today. Good morning to you, Laura. So we should all go to Buffalo so we can reenact Lepanto, and Jake can record us while Joe recites. I like the way you think, Laura. I like the way you think. By the way, I am going to be traveling quite a bit this fall. So coming up, I'm going to be in San Antonio, August 20th, 19, 20, 21 for the Fullness of Truth Conference. I'm going to be emceeing it. Then also in August, I'm going to be August the 22nd and 23rd. I'll be in Detroit, Michigan for an Ave Maria radio event. And then I'll be in Buffalo in September. No, still in August. I'll be in Buffalo August the 29th and the 30th. So Buffalo, New York for that. I'm not sure we're going to do an open house this time. I'm not sure. If anybody's from Buffalo is interested in an open house, let me know. I know, Paul, you're always welcome, of course, but anybody else in the Buffalo area, let me know if that's something you're interested, you want us to put together. I'm not sure we're going to do an open house this next time, but we'll see how it goes. So that's August. August is very busy. San Antonio, Detroit, and Buffalo, New York, all in August. In September, there's somewhere I'm going in September, and I forget where it is off the top of my head. In October, I'm going to be in Alabama for EWTN Radio Conference, and then I'm going to Rome. And the last week, I probably will fly to Rome August the 29th. David L., can you come to Rome and hang out that week? It would be great to hook up again. It would be fun to get some. Maybe that would be my one chance to get an interview is if you come to Rome, jump on the train or whatever. I'm not sure how hard or expensive that is, but love to see you anyway. I'm going to go to Rome. I'm planning to go to the LifeSite News Rome Forum. And hopefully, my plan is to go to Rome for a week. And while I'm there, my goal, and nothing's in stone at this point. In fact, I got to go to the passport office this afternoon to try to get a passport just to make this work. But the goal to going to Rome is not only to be present at the Rome Forum for LifeSite, but to interview some of the attendees. So specifically, I want to get with Cardinal Mueller. Archbishop Athanasius Schneider is going to be there. Looking forward to that. I've interviewed him a number of times. I would love to meet with him in person, of course. I'm trying to find who do I know that knows Cardinal Seurat. I'd love to interview him while I'm in Rome. Meet up with Dr. Jules Gomez from Church Militant. That's one of my goals. Possibly Colm Flynn from EWTN might be another option. And some other people that I know in Rome. But I'm trying to figure out how can I get some really interesting big interview opportunities so that I can maximize my chance while I'm there. I haven't been to Rome in, 2005 was the last time I was in Rome. So it ought to be interesting, but I want to go there and just absorb a ton of content and then be able to bring it back and provide it to you guys. So let me know if you have ideas. If you have like, hey, Joe, when you're there, you should interview so-and-so. Put that in the comments. Let me know. Let me know what you're thinking. By the way, I'm also speaking at the Tyler, Texas Men's Conference with Bishop Strickland. So that's in October. Very much looking forward to that. Susan Weber says, did Deacon David go to Germany to evangelize the bishops? David O'Gray is not a deacon. Does he want to be is the question. David L., if you're still listening, let us know. Do you want to be a deacon to evangelize the bishops? Let me know. No, his family relocated to Germany, and they're going to spend the next few years there. Germany's I loved living in Germany, actually. I enjoyed it. I would love to go back to Germany before I die. Will I get the chance? Not so sure that I'll ever get a chance. I'd love to go back to Austria. I'd love to go back to Switzerland. Switzerland is so epic and so beautiful. I would just really love to go there. Let's see here. Paul says, for cancel culture, the 1930s is ancient history. Sure is. Yvonne says, I'd be flinging holy water everywhere. What are we talking about? Oh, at the aliens, you mean? That would probably be the tool to use against an alien invasion, which, of course, we all know because we've seen the documentary films coming out of Hollywood that every alien encounter involves an invasion and world destruction. Yvonne says, I'd be looking like a Pentecostal with a Holy Ghost. Oh, that's good. That's good. Yay and amen, which is, by the way, on the cup. I don't know if you guys can't see that cup. It's over there on my shelf, which my switcher is not working anymore. Not sure what's up with that. It did halfway. You can see the cup sitting on. That's the prototype version. That's not the actual one linked up. The actual one linked up is for Station Across. That one's got my logo for my LLC, Cairo Impact Media, which is who I did my documentary film through. I thought he was a great he is a great man, but as far as I can tell, he's not a great deacon. There was at one point I wanted to consider the diaconate, but in hindsight, I'm glad that did not work out. Diaconate formation tends to be very loosey-goosey, and at that point, you're kind of locked into some things that you're going to ultimately feel very uncomfortable with. Sci-fi, I got to catch up on some sci-fi. Mike here says, I'm a plebe, but my wife is doing okay. Sci-fi, you should come hang out at the studio in August, man. I since I missed you at the men's march, we need a mea culpa on that one. Thinking of upgrading from a tinfoil hat to a Faraday cage. That's a good one right there. Tinfoil hat formal wear for whenever you are going out of town. That's a good point. Be a deacon would slow you down. To some degree, I think it would, Sharon. I totally agree. There you go. That needs to be on the cup. That's another one I've missed. There's like a few sayings that aren't on the cup at the moment. There you go. That's one of them.
We're going to need a bigger cup.
We're going to need a bigger cup. We have more work to do for version 2.0. Sci-Fi Mike, you'd have to invent AI first. If an alien accepted Jesus Christ, he might be worthy of baptism. Otherwise, he might be a demon. Exactly. Jack weighs in. We'll go out on the lake in one of the big sailboats here. Oof. Can we get enough people as extras to film it? We're going to need, I'm going to need more than my, don't tell Interregnum I said this, who's no longer listening to the show. I'm going to need more than my Panasonic Lumix S5 if I'm going to film something so epic like that. Let's get Tom Cruise on the line. We're going to have to figure out, how do we film this thing? Who do we want to play Don Juan of Austria? Eduardo Verástegui? You guys want Eduardo to play Don Juan of Austria? Let's see. Who do we want to play Cervantes? That's the next question. Could you imagine? Can someone explain to me why nobody in Hollywood thought, you know what? It would be epic if we did Battle of Lepanto. You know, why is it like with the Kingdom of Heaven? How many people watch the Kingdom of Heaven? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Anyone? 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 It starred Legolas and the dude from Taken. Okay, we're in that.
You mean Qui-Gon Jinn and
Yes.
the Pirates and the guy from Pirates of the Caribbean?
Qui-Gon Jinn, and I don't know who that dude is, but I know Legolas. But you know, they were in that movie. Why is it when you're going to put that much effort, that much time, that much money into a film, you make it heretical garbage that steals people's souls instead of edifies or at least inspires or entertains them? Can anyone explain that to me? Perhaps I should ask one of the UFO whistleblowers. Maybe they would know. Oh, sorry, forgot. They can't reveal anything in public. It's all very classified. So anyway, another rabbit hole. I got to avoid that. Laura says, yes, saw the movie. It broke my heart. What is, like, we're so close. It's like Silence. It's like you got talent involved here. Beautiful cinematography, great storytelling, only to just be a tool of propaganda for the devil. You are, as Rep Matt Gaetz told Mayorkas, you're doing the work of the cartels, or AKA the devil. Same thing. They can be interchanged. They're ubiquitously the same. Why? Could you imagine if they made the Kingdom of Heaven solidly Catholic with the same talent involved? How amazing that would be. That's what I'm talking about. Like, Lepanto needs to be that, but only Catholic. That, but only true. That, but only great, right? Good grief. Where are the George what's the guy's name? The world ruler, Antichrist guy? George Soros.
Soros?
Thank you. Where's the George Soros Jr.? George Soros retired. It's his son now, who's much younger and has decades ahead of him to do his evil work. Where the George Soros is on the Catholic side of the equation. Like, if you're a person of high capacity and you want to know how to move a needle, invest in media companies, media operations that want to proclaim the fullness of the truth with clarity and charity, and then do epic projects that move the needle. Do that, because that will move the needle. Putting your name on a school is not a bad idea, but it's not the most amazing idea either. Susan says, truth rarely shows its face in movies or in Hollywood. That's why we should do it without them. Paul's asking what the national debt is. I see where he's going with that. Paul's like as if a congressman were saying, could you just tell me what the national debt is? Yeah, sure. If we could, I just can't say that publicly. If we could just go in the skiff. I did release that information in a classified document that nobody could ever read. Yeah. So yeah, we're not allowed to know. Yeah, that was one of the points that one of the congressmen who was asking the UFO whistleblowers, you know, like they reviewed the Pentagon's budget, and every time they do, they're like, the Pentagon never hits its budget. It always overspends and can't explain where that money went to. Maybe, just maybe, that all of their line items are bloated because they are funding secret technology projects that are only being used by the world elite and the deep state in the intelligence community. You think? Like when I watched that Sean Ryan Herrera, I think the guy's last name was Herrera. I posted a clip of it in the Telegram group. This is a guy who was a part of a Marine detachment who was going, because there was a big natural disaster like in the Philippines, and his unit was there to protect as security forces because, you know, there are some scary actors, terrorists that work in those regions. So they were there as security forces to the rescue team. Well, they encountered some you know, blacked out dudes in the jungle, you know, basically stealing humans and loading them into some nefarious technology that nobody could explain before. Kind of look like a Tic Tac, all blacked out, and just doing physics that we can't understand. Not aliens from outer space, government officials, secret departments, nefarious actors doing illegal things for their own personal gain. Because, human trafficking is a thing. It's a commodity. Slave trade. It's a thing. So I could buy that. I can see that. That seems to add up. That passes the smell test in my opinion. Do secret people in our world, very powerful, connected people, want to use the latest and greatest technology for their own personal gain? Of course, I could see that. That's not even a big stretch. That seems reasonable. I could absolutely see. I mean, before we knew that there was an F-117 Blackbird, there was an F-117 Blackbird, technology that we didn't even know existed. Before there was the SR-71 Blackbird, or what is the F-117 called? It's not called the Blackbird. It's called it was the first version of the stealth fighter. Its nickname is escaping me. But the SR-71 is called the Blackbird. And before that, everybody knew that existed. It existed. So, I mean, you go back to the 1940s and 50s, you're going to see technologies that will blow your mind that they were experimenting with. They just needed to be matured, which is why so soon after World War II, we saw an explosion of said technology. So it wouldn't surprise me in the least to find advanced technologies that are just not being allowed to populate down through the ranks to us ordinary plebe folks, because the elites are using them to their advantage, and they don't want to, they don't want us raining on their parade.
The Nighthawk?
What is it called? The Nighthawk. Thank you.
KPJX06 found it.
Thank you for weighing in on that. The Nighthawk. KPJX06. Well, I got to catch up on some KPJX06 here, and I'm running out of time.
He had some of the Lucis Trust stuff, the Lucifer Trust.
Can we get a link to that?
The 10 philosophical views of the UN. I'm not sure how they're related to the UN, but it's one of those new age occult things.
Send us a link. Andrea Lamort, good morning to you. Send us a link on those so I can try to provide some more content on that, possibly. Maybe I'll get Austin Roos to be on. That'd be good too. At any rate, let's pray that today is the last day of yours truly doing all the video switching.
Amen.
So that we can get back to something that feels somewhat of quality.
I need something to do during the show.
All right, guys. God bless you. God love you. Looking forward to being on the show tomorrow. BigPulpit.com is going to weigh in tomorrow morning, plus more guests. So it'll be good. We'll see you then. God bless you.
And now I present to you Lepanto, a poem by G.K. Chesterton. White founts falling in the courts of the sun, and the Soldan of Byzantium is smiling as they